Yeah. All right. Welcome everybody. Tonight we're working on Amy's sound right now. So hopefully she's gonna give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, right? We're all good on my end. Okay, sweet.
Can
For
you hear
some
me?
reason Amy's stuff isn't working, so we can watch for messages on like the Facebook too. So this one's going to be like an unscripted, no PowerPoint for all you poor teachers that don't want to do that every week. I thought I'd like my background because it felt like that today. It kind of felt walky in the woods as we had 6-8 inches of snow and then nothing the next day. It just made for a giant mess of gook. But yeah, today is going to be an interesting one. One of the things that got me started in exploring holistic beyond chiropractic was a couple of these authors that you'll get to see. Well, one is kind of new to me, and I love him. I think he's my new guy. But what we want to talk about is breathing. So breathing is the motion that we don't think about, but it can make a massive improvement in your health. There's so many different ways to introduce like this, what we call, remember, conscious breathing. So when we go back to our old epigenetics, right, we only get to do 5% of our day as conscious, 95% of the day is subconscious. So when you're looking at those things, one of the ways to kind of increase that a little bit possibly is understanding your breathing techniques throughout a day. If you've never noticed it before on your body, there's a big difference between how you breathe when you're stressed out, how you breathe when you're angry, how you breathe when you're happy. All those things matter, right? And so when you start looking at the physiology of the breathing, there's so much to it, in so many different ways, and all these different holistic different approaches. You have like the Chinese medicine, they'll have Tai Chi and all these martial arts that really concentrate on breathing, on these different aspects. Why? Because it allows that concentration of mind and spirit. And so prayer is a good one. Some people can actually stay in a prayerful condition, a prayerful time longer than others, right? So if you look at all those different ones, another one to think about is it's just singing in general, how long it takes to practice somebody truly singing well and what that means. You could have a good voice necessarily, but if you never practice that, you understand, you see the difference in that. Or one of my favorite things to do, watching those TV shows that have singers on them, it's almost like you can see their immediate physiology when they connect to that song, right? So there's some that maybe naturally do that, but if you see, they it's a different level of consciousness almost when you see somebody really dive into these songs, right? So I can never aspire to sing it thinking that I sound like that, but my kids will tell you, like in the car, if I know the words of the song, if I turn the radio up enough where I can't hear myself, I do sound like them somehow. I don't know. It's just the way it goes. But when you feel good when you do those kind of things, like if you have a one that vibes with you and those kind of things. But once you understand how those breathing techniques go, you're actually controlling and helping your body with nature needs no help, no interference, right? So let's say we learned a subconscious program of when I get scared, I hyperventilate. Okay. So when you were a kid, you got scared, you jumped under the bed because there was a monster or something, and you hyperventilated at that point, right? So now every time you get a little scared, let's say something else happens, like somebody scares you, or you have that breathing pattern that you probably learned way back as a kid, right? So a lot of this breathing will matter throughout a day. And think about this as one of the major things. There's a lot of stresses in our world. If there's a lot of stresses, fear, anxiety, and those things are hitting us on a day-to-day basis, are we breathing correctly so that our body understands that you're safe, or your body is going through, okay, well, this happened, these little tiny adult stresses start to make us like understand, because they're so small and they hit you so hard, but your subconscious still goes to those old stresses, right? Those old subconscious programs of how to breathe in those situations. So a lot of times you'll see that, like, let's say you cannot stand where you work. So if you can't stand where you work, and that subconscious immediately starts, your breathing pattern will be like that. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to show you my first guy. His name is Dr. Andrew Weil. Weirdly, this is kind of cool. So this guy I'm about to show you is like a best-selling author all over the place. The lady, Dr. Tiarona Lodog, that I took my herbalist stuff, they're like best buddies. They've been together, and like they talk all the time. It's just a cool thing, because once you see who it is, you'll see all his best-selling books that he's done. A lot of his earlier work was on breathing, which is really cool. He's done a ton of research on all kinds of herbals and all those kind of things. He's really focused now on nutrition. So if you really like his breathing techniques, you kind of go back. He has a couple of good YouTubes that I'll show you that you can learn his technique. But I really like his explanation. That I think you'll enjoy it too. So my first thing, I will share the screen. Share that bad boy. Oh man, there's some new stuff. All right. Get this out of the way. It's doing that. Hang on. Okay. Get back up here. Sorry. Get out of the way. Oh, okay. There we go. All right. Oh, maybe. Oh, Amy, maybe. Maybe that's me that's screwed up. Okay, hang on. Are you guys hearing that? No? No. Okay. Oh, my fault. Okay. Amy, check.
Can you hear me now?
Speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. It was totally your fault somehow.
No.
It wasn't that my computer was completely muted.
Not at all.
That's awesome. So if you were swearing at me before, it is recorded. So I know exactly. All right, here we go. I'll show you Dr. Weil.
The theory of breath work is that breathing is the only thing you can do completely consciously or completely unconsciously. It's run by two different sets of nerves and muscles, by the voluntary system and the involuntary system. And as a result, it offers the only chance to get at and influence the involuntary nervous system. Disturbances in the involuntary nervous system are responsible for a great deal of chronic disease. The involuntary nervous system has two divisions: the sympathetic system which revs things up and prepares us for emergencies, for fight or flight responses, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which has the opposite effect. Both of these have to be in balance. In most people in our culture, the tone of the sympathetic system is much too high. There are all sorts of reasons for that. All the stimulation in the environment, stress, all of it. But most of us go through life with things tilted in that direction. And that is responsible for a lot of high blood pressure, circulatory problems, digestive problems, and so forth. Of all the methods that I've seen of relaxation, the most time effective and cost effective are breathing techniques. And I'll go over this one breathing exercise with you. I think this is an example of the kind of thing that integrative medicine can find out there that's not even on the radar screen of conventional medicine. When I try to talk to most doctors about breathing, breath work, they lose interest. It's too simple. It's not taken seriously because it's too simple. It literally makes use of something you have right under your nose. It uses no equipment. It's free. How possibly could it do anything? I mean, that's the attitude that prevails in our medical system. And this, as I said, this is a prime example. If you think about it, just this one thing was brought into mainstream medicine, how much this would cut costs, cut adverse outcomes, improve medical effectiveness. Just one kind of thing that integrative medicine can bring into the mainstream. So the basic principle of breathing practice is to make your breath deeper, slower, quieter, and more regular. Those are the qualities of breathing that you want to develop. So whenever you think about it, if you're in a supermarket line, if you're driving, try to make your breath deeper, slower, quieter, and more regular.
All right. So that was our first video. And I saw Christy. Oh, shoot. Hang on. Before I answer any questions. Aren't you lucky you all have like one of the best online guys ever? Okay.
Totally.
Christy, fire away. All right. If not, we can come back to it. Oh, there she goes. Yes, ma'am.
I really didn't have a question. I was moving my phone.
Ah, that's awesome. We did. I was so nervous. No, I'm just kidding. So no, it's all good. All right. So we'll keep going then. No problem. So if you can hear what he said, and it's very profound in what he said. He said one of the only ways to control your nervous system that's the involuntary one, that we can consciously do that, is through breathing, right? So we can do it through meditation. We've talked about that before. We can do visualization. Those take more time, experience, and know-how, is basically where he came to. But where breathing, you learn a few practical hints on the breathing part. You could reduce your sympathetic, right? Remember what that was? That was our fight and flight and all that good stuff, where we're running from a tiger all the time. So remember, if you're chronically stressed at work, that means the tiger is in the room, like licking its chops, and it might be just sitting there waiting for you all day, right? Sitting under somebody's desk. That's what you feel like. That's what your body's responding to. So that is one of the things that we need to understand as far as like what we, like as we go forward, right? So yeah. So the big thing is when you have this capability, why not use it per day? That's why I thought this was one of my favorite, like 1% improvements. I use this. I'll give you an example before our next video, but I use this a ton in a really busy workday. Let's say we're busy. There's not, like I'm running behind, or there's a lot of people and a lot of these things are happening. Within each room, there's always a moment where I am able to stop, have to put in a chart note, right? So at that point, that's where I learned a long time ago to take my big deep breath. So I take a big chest and belly breath, but keep it quiet. It's not a sigh. That's one of my one things that you see is some people use these big deep breaths as that's a big difference between taking a nice deep breath, energizing breath, right? And one of the things he's going to show you in the next one, we'll do it for a little bit. I think it's called 4-7-8. The breathing technique we're going to go through. So the one that Dr. Weil really got going on is this one. This allows that sympathetic nervous system to kind of relax down and get into that parasympathetic when you need it the most, which is typically most of our day. We need to start as a society really start living in this parasympathetic environment because there's so much stress. I was talking to a patient this week, and I'll keep this short before we get into the next one, but I was talking to this patient this week. Some of you know that I bet Dr. Rachel and I went on a mission trip to Haiti. And this is like back in, 23 years ago now, but probably 24. Yeah, because we did it my senior year as a chiropractor. So when we went there, one of the things that was the most profound was the happiness. And I always thought that was interesting, but I never put two and two together. So later I was reading this book on how my poor third world Haiti is typically, you almost classify it as a fourth world country, where it's so poor. I mean, they got garbage on their beach. Like their dump is their beach. Just to let you know, that is where they have to do it. It is bad. Like if you have 4 pieces of metal making up your house, you're a rich person basically. So it's tough, but one of the things that you don't see coming when you get down there is how happy those people are. And one of the reasons they are, and I was explained to this very well in this book. I wish I could tell you what the book was. When you have the only thing you have to worry about is survival, food, shelter, and making sure everybody around you is surviving and all those things, your life is lots less stressful in some ways, because once you've achieved all those per day, what else is there, right? What happens is that's why Haitian, the population was such great artists. If they got enough food for the day, they got enough water, they got enough sustenance, the rest of the day was family time and maybe making or creating something. So that was always fascinating because they don't run the stressful, how much money we got this day and this and all this stuff, like which sport do we got to go to tonight? And those all seem like easy things until they start adding up on each other, right? So that's one of the hardest parts of this whole thing. And this breathing is something you can do with such limited resources and you don't have to have a lot of time to do it. And just like he said, a nice, deep, slow, quiet breath is your first breathing exercise you can use. So those are things that you can go on from. So now I want to show you the Dr. Weil's his next one, the actual technique he does. So I'm going to try this again, and I apologize if I do not do it correctly, but let's go back. Nope.
Of conventional medicine.
This
When I try to talk to
Okay, this one's
You
called
love Gantt charts?
not
Here's
this.
how easily you can build
Get
one.
out of there. I will figure out how to skip this.
this out, I'm going to describe this comes from yoga, and in yoga breathing, you're asked to keep your tongue in the yogic position, which is touching the tip of your tongue to the ridge of tissue just behind your upper front teeth, like that. So you just touch it lightly and keep it there. You can do this exercise in any position. standing, lying, sitting. But if you're seated, it's good to keep your back straight and your feet on the floor. Okay, so in this exercise, you're going to breathe in through your nose quietly, and you're going to blow air out forcefully through your mouth, like making a whoosh sound and push your lips out. I'm going to describe this to you, and then I'm going to demonstrate it for you, and then we'll do it together. So the exercise begins by letting all the air out through your mouth. You close your mouth, breathe in through your nose, quiet to a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 7, and then blow air out through your mouth to a count of 8. And then you'll do that for a total of 4 breath cycles, and that's it. It takes all of about 30 seconds. There's no excuse for not doing it. And this is a practice. It's not a one-time thing. This is something I'm going to tell you how to do it, but it's something you're going to want to practice. Okay, so watch me. I'll demonstrate it for you, and then afterwards we'll do it together. So it looks like this. That's all. It's a little hard for me to come back and talk to you after I do that, because this produces a very pleasant altered state of consciousness that I would rather stay in. You may not get that the first time you do it, but it's one of the rewards of practicing this. Okay, so let's try this all together. And I'm going to count. What limits you is how long you can hold your breath. So you have to get enough air in on the 4 to last you for the 7. I'm going to count for you at a moderate rate that you should find comfortable. Okay, so let all the air out through your mouth.
Everybody tries.
Close your mouth in through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Close in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Close in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Now just breathe normally and notice how you feel. Some of you may feel a little lightheaded after doing that. That's not the goal, and that will disappear with practice. Some of you may have some sense of internal relaxation that will become very profound as you practice this. You have to do this at least twice a day religiously. I do it in the morning when I get up before I do some sitting meditation. I do it at night when I get into bed to fall asleep. It will become a wonderful way to help you fall asleep. If you get up in the middle of the night for any reason, get back in bed, do this, it'll help you go right to sleep. You can do it more often throughout the day, but never more than 4 breaths at one time. But you've got to do it a minimum of twice a day. After a month, if you're comfortable with it, increase to 8 breath cycles. And that's the absolute maximum. So then the practice would be 8 breath cycles twice a day. Again, you can do it more often. After 4 to 6 weeks, as you become familiar with this, start using it for things. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, somebody says something to you that pushes your button, before you react, do this. It's a wonderful way to help deal with cravings for whatever, cigarette, piece of candy. Before you act on the craving, do the breathing exercise. By the time you get back, it'll be gone. But the really interesting changes happen after about 4 to 6 weeks of doing this regularly. You will see wonderful changes in your body. This slows heart rate, it lowers blood pressure, it improves digestion. I've seen people who've had cold hands all their life who now have warm hands just as a result of doing this. That's a sign of reducing the fight or flight response in the body. I've seen people that have had chronic digestive problems that have disappeared just as a result of doing this. I've seen people who've stopped atrial fibrillation from doing this breathing exercise. It is a fantastic thing.
All right. So you can see it's no joke. So a lot of times, as simple as he was making it, you're talking what, 30 seconds per day? I'm sorry, a minute total per day can literally change. And 3 of the things that he said at the end of that video were things that we see and hear about from patients on a daily basis. So digestive problems all the time. You have cold hands, feet, those kind of things. A lot of times this is the way that you make the actual change versus, that's why 1% is so important. It's those changes that'll make it, not these big ones, not the medications. It doesn't change who you are, right? This can give you this new tool that'll allow you to do that kind of thing. So that is the beginning. I have another guy that I want to show you. Dr. Weil's amazing. If you ever want to, just get on his YouTube channel. The 478 sitting right on there. If not, you can just rewatch this again. But I'm telling you, it's a game changer for medicine in general, or our holistic approaches. What if your doctor started that instead of blood pressure medicine? Think about that. So what if, you come in, like he said, atrial fibrillation, why not try this for 3 weeks? Who wouldn't be willing to do that? Most people wouldn't, not the ones that are watching me currently. That's not the way they do it, in the sense of, I said that backwards. The ones watching me do it, right? Or this video currently, and this finds of interest, you would be the first that you would follow through. If your medical doctor or anybody said, hey, this is your problem, let's try this. Once we get that as our paradigm of health, which I don't see coming very quickly in overall health, but we can do it. We can figure that out. And that's why you're here. So there's this one. So that one is about Dr. Weil's stuff is a lot about bringing that sympathetic tone down. Okay. So I'm going to introduce you to a new guy. He's been around for a couple of years. This is going to be a little different than you're thinking. So one other thing is if you got onto our foot talk last time, sometimes we want to engage things, right? We want to be in that sympathetic dominant situation. So when would that be? When we're working out, so we can get the most effective workout, right? I'm going to introduce you to a guy named Wim Hof. Wim is a Nordic crazy man. Once you see the videos, it is pretty awesome. I am mesmerized because what he's saying is so true, but in such a simplistic fashion. He actually uses the breathing techniques to create the sympathetic chain to give you the balance between the two. And you'll get to hear, his take on cold, right? So cold is a big thing right now. Wim Hof is one of the reasons, the trend of, ice baths, and then people are actually figuring this stuff out that the Nordics had figured out years and years ago. Why were all these giant Nordic men, the ones that are powerlifting and beating everybody senseless with hundreds of pounds of difference? They would lift heavy weights, but then they get in the cold as well, right? So their inflammation of their body wasn't as bad. So I'll let you, we're going to do that one right now. I think you'll like this guy a lot. I do. I think he's fascinating. I was telling Amy, I'm doing his, probably his his classes and stuff.
Absolutely. You got to look.
Oh, there's Wim. That's him.
Putting your lips out. I'm going to describe
Sorry.
this to you.
Where's it
and
at?
then I'm going to demonstrate it
Playing.
for you, and then we'll do it.
Get out of there. Okay, let's do. Okay, so let's start here with Wim.
The more
So this is Wim.
absolutely. You got a lower and a higher consciousness. They call. I say you have
you have what is consciousness? It's perception. Consciousness is awareness, perception. Perception is neurology. The more neurological pathways are developed within your own brain, the more controlled you are to see more. That is logical. And that is the purpose of our life. Some do it by making a beautiful chair. Some do it by learning many languages. Some do it through making podcasts possible. Some do it by serving others with coffee and tea. It does not matter. Whatever it takes to expand your own consciousness, to bring it from a lower consciousness, animalistic, to this brain, the human brain consciousness, that is connection, and it's done inside the brain. And now we found, once again, it's no pill, it's no drug, it's you, yourself. By the way, we say, get high on your own supply and get into this breathing. In the beginning of this podcast, you said, yeah, I did this breathing, and it's like DT, yeah. Even we are able, through these pneumatic manipulated exercises, through the breath and pressurizing, and to get into the deepest part of the brain, which also is activated during the REM sleep, the deep sleep. That's the DMT. The DMT, and it's to release trauma. And it's also bloody nice. It's like a drug, and we are able to activate that. But so what I say is, we are able to become more than the normal. Superhuman means we are actually born to be great, to feel great, not in the eyes maybe of others, but once you feel great, you radiate greatness. You radiate like love. It's like sanity, and people are positively affected. This is going to change the world. And once again, it's no religion, but it's divine. And that's who we are. And that is only done by setting the mind. But first, make the right conditions. That is the chemistry should be right, and the transportation of the chemistry throughout the body to all the cells, to the DNA, should be done. And that's where I am right now, right, with the new study on the DNA.
All right. So there's that. I want to show you one more quick one. So, and then we'll discuss. All right. So we won't do this whole video, obviously, but.
I suck at sleeping, but I'm not alone. 1/3 of the population.
Oh, let's go back. So this
Second.
So what we're gonna do in this one is we're gonna walk through the differences. Okay, so this one's gonna be a lot different, because if you want to, you can play along or practice along with. This is for the high, like he said. Why not we get high? I always say, I don't worry about saying like this super consciousness he's talking about. In my opinion, that's the consciousness we've all been born with. It's not necessarily super. We sit at such a low level of this stuff. This breathing pattern is it allows you to energize, right? So it's kind of opposite of Dr. Weil's stuff, because you want to relax, right? But both of them get the same effect. When you control your breathing, you get a natural high. What's hilarious about that is really the natural high is your consciousness. You are living consciously. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. But so as we go, we're going to do a few of these. This isn't him talking. You're going to see 3 rounds of 50-second breath holds, and you'll see the concepts of what he's talking about, but we won't do the whole thing. So here we go.
Breath holds, 3 total rounds with all of our unique breath styles that you've heard so far. Breath number 1 is breath of fire, which is a short, rapid inhale and exhale through the nose, and it sounds like this. Then we're going to shift into alkaline breathing, which is a powerful nose inhale and a sigh of relief out the mouth. It sounds like this. So let's go ahead and get started together now, like this. Breath of fire. Double the speed. Breathing. Good, powerful breaths. Double the speed. Good, stay with it. Four, three, two, one, inhale. Big exhale right into our breath hold. We're beginning our 50-second breath hold. No air needed. Release all the tension in your body. Ten more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Recovery breath in. And exhale. Return to normal breathing. Get ready for round number 2.
All right. I won't make you go through round number 2. I promise. I was like, hopefully y'all enjoyed that. That was pretty cool. Like, I think when we start to understand like how all this interacts, you start looking for stuff like that. And Wim Hof has some amazing stuff. One last video. It's real quick. I'm sorry tonight it's all videos, but sometimes it's better if you hear it from others, right? Than just me. Because we've talked about a couple of these things already. The biggest thing is understanding it from the bigger perspective. If 2 best-selling authors are telling you the exact same thing, and they're so concentrated that they're just talking about breathing, Wim Hof is like his stuff is exploded throughout the world, right? And Dr. Wild's obviously done pretty good for himself as well. Those 2 just focused on breathing, and they changed that many people's lives. So think about, and then one thing that Amy and I, one of the neatest things is what we call our holistic or herbalist coaching type thing. One of the things we're doing a lot of this tribe for is to learn, right? So immediately when we started talking breathing, I know one of our first moves will be to teach you this piece and be a coach with you, and those kind of things. So those are just some cool aspects. I want you to hear Wim talk just for fun on cold, because this guy gets Jeremy. He gets him. Like some of you are not into cold. Oh, wait till this one.
I've been reading a lot about the comments, and one of the thing that stood right out of there was what to do when winter comes and the motivation is not there to go into the cold. In the summer, it's really nice. It's a nice sunshine. You go out, it's not so cold. But when it is cold, going into the deeper cold, that's quite difficult. And I can understand that. But I tell you, right in the winter, you get the most of profit. You get the most of result by doing this. The cold trains your immune system to be boosted. And that's what you need to get no flu, no colds, no inflammation, depression. All that is not going to happen. How that physiologically works is a whole book. The thing is, the result of going into the winter and have your motivation should be, hey, I want to tackle the flu, the cold, the depression in the winter. Can I do it? Yes. What do you got to do? Just take the damn cold shower. I'm sorry, damn cold shower. It's a heavenly cold shower. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I make of every winter a summer. Behave as if you are in the summer. Think about that. That is the power of your mind, being able to switch your body into a powerful being. Make of your winter a summer. That should be your motivation. Wow, amazing exercises. Not only physical, absolutely the mind. The sky was not the limit. The mind it is. You can take it on this winter. Let's go.
I thought you'd appreciate that one. So Wim is awesome. He is not wrong. He's not wrong. For my winter whiners out there that we constantly are whining about it. Want to be in, it's something different if these different elements that some people aren't around. What if you could take that element on and like not worry about it so much, right? So like the pure anxiety of, just the winter coming and like, what does that look like? And, what could you do with that? And so to me, that is breathing in a nutshell. So I will open it up now for any actual questions. Amy, do you got anything now that you're
Yeah, now that you can hear me, you
Yes.
turned your volume up.
Right.
I think it's interesting to connect that to massage therapy, actually, just because of your, inhale muscles and where they attach. So it'd be interesting to see if I could try to incorporate that for people that have a hard time relaxing. You know what I mean? Like during the massage or in the beginning, just guide them through 1 minute of just breathing,
Absolutely. So a lot of times that is the case. And most of the time you're going to see, like in our chiropractic world, if you think those upper back and those neck pains, I tell everybody all the time, if anybody's had the classic rib, like that kind of thing, the rib out, a lot of times those are breathing problems. Those are tight breathing, and with that, you start learning those different ways. And those are two different, like completely different ways, right? So you have this 4-7-8 that Dr. Weil was showing you that will literally get you out of that sympathetic nervous system. Like I always think of your busiest day, let's say, on Sunday night, you have 7 like errands to run during your normal work day, and you have to do them that day. That day is now you're not going to breathe correctly the entire day, right? And so just because of what you're asking it to do. So when you get this technique where you can actually do that, the 4-7-8, it can be an absolute game changer for us. Yeah. And then Wim's idea, that thing, I'm going to study it. I'm going to study it more. Hopefully I'll bring back some really good information. The ability to reach that higher consciousness. I'm not sure if his science is correct. He might be, where that REM sleep is there. Like Dr. Weil said, I probably wouldn't use Wim's for necessarily going to sleep, but the 4-7-8 I would, right?
Yeah.
So 4-7-8, I've had that before. I am a sleeper. Like once I go to sleep, I am gone. The moments I'm not, and it's usually my own fault. Like I do not like, there's one piece of weather I do not like, and that's ice storms. I cannot stand them. And like I don't like how your brain, and when you have a family, you're your dad, and you're like, all right, I gotta get ready for this, you got to get the generator ready, and you got to get all this crap going, right? And then you just don't really sleep well in that moment, right? So for me, one night it was like that because I wasn't sure what this thing was going to look like. And then for me, I got into a point where meditation can do that for me in 2 seconds. So it doesn't bother, but I don't look at it as a struggle as much as some do, like when they can't sleep. So these could be huge in our self-care all day. So, but yeah, so I love it. I think we're going to learn more and more as we go. Do you have any, Christy or Jess, do you have any questions for me? I know, Christy, we'll figure out that hand. Don't worry about that. I'm not. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So you're all on there if you want to. Jess, you got anything?
I don't think I have any questions, but I guess another breath type to share from a counselor a few years back is to do that deep breath in through your nose, but blow out through a tiny straw. And so I'll have my students like take a normal deep breath where you breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth and like feel your shoulders and notice what happens with your shoulders. And then try to breath in through your nose and then out through a tiny straw and notice your shoulders, and you can physically like feel them relax more than the other deep breath.
Interesting. So, that's a good one.
She said that it cuts some kind of connection. Like the first one is good for you, but your brain still thinks you're under stress, and the tiny straw method is supposed to help actually cut that connection where your brain thinks I'm still under stress.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. And what's so funny about these is they go so unnoticed. It's so unnoticed how easy these are for everybody. Like everybody thinks it's too simple. I go, when we were talking feet, I told you to go barefoot in your yard, and that is so much beneficial than, like those simplistic things, when done consciously, change your life, and that's what I really have seen over time. Like I always say, when you have the 23 years, the experience that I've had with my 90-plus-year-old patients that just come in and they're driving and you think they're 70 maybe, and when you see that and you see that they've just taken those little things more serious than everybody else, you go, oh, maybe there is something to that, that I don't see them in a gym for 2 hours a day. I don't see a 90-year-old doing that. I just don't. Right. And that is one of those things that can be, just self-motivated. But what do I see them do? Something every day, some movement every day, some mental exercise every day, some nutrition is key every single day. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And I think next week, I'm pretty excited about next week too, because next week's anti-inflammatory herbs. Yeah. So that one's much bigger than people realize, much easier to implement actually than people realize. So I'm kind of pumped. I didn't get to tell you guys, I don't think, maybe in one of them, but I've been taking a long COVID herbalist seminar the last 4 weeks, where it's like these top medical doctor professors in the long COVID aspect. What I'm learning is that I can implement a lot of that info on a lot of different conditions, and so anti-inflammatory is one of those major conditions. So we'll get to talk about that a lot. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the earlier time. I think this will be good.
I liked it.
A little worried. Yeah, I know. Me and Amy like it for sure. I'm a little worried because like when it gets nice out, sometimes my Sunday doesn't end exactly around, it's usually like 7:30 or 8 because I'm outside most of that time. But we'll see how that goes. If that is the case, we'll move it to 9. But I just wanted to get us on board for that. And they're recorded anyway. So if you like it, great. Just keep doing it. But awesome. All right, guys. Well, have a good night.
See you tomorrow.
Yes, have a good one.